Deborah Leon, and I'm a parent from Burlingame. My husband and I have 2 kids in public school in Burlingame, one in elementary and one now in middle school. Public speaking isn't really my thing, but I was asked to speak to you tonight because I'm kind of a poster child for the kind of person who's joining this movement. So I'm going to briefly share my story of what brought me to Educate Our State, and then give you some ideas of what you can do to come along too. So I was thinking that there are really 2 things that brought me to Educate Our State: passion and exhaustion. And these 2 things don't really go together, but I'll explain. I was raised in Palo Alto, and I went to public school there. My dad is a retired teacher and administrator in the Palo Alto public schools. And I grew up in a home where the ideas and ideals of public education were a constant presence. Our house was often filled with teachers, administrators, and staff for meetings and parties. And I really revered all these people because they cared so deeply about what they were doing, and I could tell they cared about me as a person. So I was completely committed to public schools when my husband and I moved to Burlingame, and we dove right into the public school community, getting involved in our kids' school, just like many that you've heard from, and many of you out there, I'm sure. And I soon realized that things were very different from what I had as a kid in Palo Alto. And I quickly learned that the only way our kids were going to have even a part of what I had growing up in Palo Alto was to raise the money every year for basic programs. This is in Burlingame. So I put my heart and energy into raising money for not just our kids' school, but for our education foundation, for parcel tax measures, and for school bonds, because I'm committed to the idea that all students in our community deserve and must receive an excellent education. So now that's where the exhaustion comes in, as I'm sure it has for many of you. And I know San Carlos does a fantastic job of supporting its Ed Foundation. But across the state, communities are raising money every year to attempt to bridge the gap left by the lack of state funding, with no end in sight. It's a Band-Aid, and I was really tired of it. So I just got to the point where I felt that something bigger must be done to address the chronic funding problems, as well as the way funding is allocated. Parents and community members like me had to be heard. And I think the real tipping point for me was when I learned that 1 of every 8 children in this country is educated here in California. Think about what that means for our country. Even if you don't have children, if your children are grown, or if your children are in private school, this crisis impacts all of us, and we have to do something. So my energy and passion for public education were refueled when a friend forwarded to me an email about Educate Our State. I was really interested. But remember the exhaustion? I was not about to devote time and energy to a movement unless I felt it could really make a change, that there was a real commitment to the things that I cared about: logical funding, adequate funding, and excellent and fully supported teachers. And I found that with Educate Our State. The first step I took was to attend a house meeting, or a house party as you've heard about, and I was really blown away. I found a group of dedicated parents who, like me, had had enough of a system that does not work for our children, and were willing to take a leap of faith and believe that the education system in California could become a system worthy of this amazing and diverse state that we live in. So my hope in being here tonight is that you will take that leap as well and join this movement for real change in public education. So now we're going to look at 3 things you can do right now. Can you go back? Okay. Donate, advocate, and participate. And I just wanted to mention that these words actually came from a fundraising campaign that was put on last year by the Burlingame Ed Foundation. It was a very successful campaign that we had to put on in a very short time when we realized we needed to raise a lot of money in 4 months. So these were the principles of our campaign, and they proved to be very successful, and I think they're all really important. So the first one is donate. So Educate Our State is funded by individuals like you. We rely on your donations to fund our outreach efforts and our campaigns. And so if you donate $5 or more to Educate Our State, you can get one of these nifty card magnets. And we're hoping that you will do so, and that you'll convince your friends and neighbors to donate as well. And that magnet lets everyone know that you're doing something something for public education? Advocate. So the first thing is to join the movement. And if you haven't already done so, you can send us an email, as Crystal pointed out. And we also have student volunteers who passed around, or maybe still be passing around, the Join the Movement clipboards. If you do sign up, if you can please clearly print your first and last name, your email address and zip code, and check the boxes on the right side of that form. The first box is to join the movement, and the second box is to support the 2012 Kids Education Plan. And when you check that second box, we'll pass along your information to children now, so they can send you further information about the 2012 Kids Education Plan, as well as their comprehensive children's agenda for California that would benefit every child in the state. And another way to advocate is through social media. If you're on Twitter, you can follow us, or if you are on Facebook, please like us. And again, we're trying to grow our numbers and keep the momentum of this movement going. Social media is a great way to do this. Participate. So you've heard a little bit now about our house parties, house meetings that we've been having up and down the state for the last year and a half. And these events have been extremely successful. It's a really great way to get parents and community members engaged. They get a lot of the information that you are getting here tonight, and it really inspires people to get involved. So please consider hosting a house party or a house meeting, or even putting on a larger event in your area, such as this town hall. We give you lots of help. Basically, you get the people together, and we will help put on the whole event for you. And as Crystal mentioned, I think you mentioned Camp Educate, which is a conference that we are putting on in November. It's a 2-day weekend leadership training conference, and it's going to be a really great event. It's a really wonderful way to gain leadership skills specifically geared toward the kind of organizing that Educate Our State is doing. And so leaders will be trained on how to go back into their communities and organize and get parents and community members involved. So if you're interested in Camp Educate, we're taking applications. You can look at our website for more information, and you can also speak with any of the Educate Our State team members who are here tonight before you leave. Okay. So please don't forget to join the Educate Our State movement, and remember, a donation of $5 or more gets you one of those lovely magnets. Yeah, or you could get one of those magnets, that's right. That's maybe easier. So I know you've been given a lot of information tonight, but it's important that we all understand where we are right now in public education in California. And so I think Dr. Baker is now going to moderate a question and answer period. And if you have not turned in a card, or you need another card, you can raise your hand and a volunteer can come and pick up your questions. Thank you so much.